It has been an incredibly bad couple of weeks for Donald Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. It appears now that his legal troubles are starting to get even worse. So now this is according to Politico. It's an article that states that federal prosecutors have actually begun to dig into Giuliani's links to foreign-born business associates, among other things. So right now, Giuliani is getting scrutiny from the FBI, the district attorney's office based out of Manhattan, and now the criminal division of the Justice Department, according to different sources. Oops. Oh, that's not good. So now, man, what's even worse for him is that Giuliani, when he goes on TV and he blabs and he accidentally says things that he shouldn't, it turns out that he is turning members of the Trump team that he's worked with over the last 18 months into potential witnesses for federal prosecutors. So he comes out and says, oh, yeah, I worked with these guys. Not a problem. Nothing happened. It was all above board. And so not a problem. And then the FBI, federal prosecutors are like, we should look into those guys. It might be a good idea because what you just said, definitely a problem. Oops. Even more. Let me give you a quote here from Greg Brower, who served as the FBI's top liaison to Congress until last year. He said, quote, Giuliani appears to be a subject, if not a target, of an active investigation. And he also goes on to explain why Giuliani is not as involved in Ukraine now, in the defense of Ukraine in the impeachment inquiry, as he was previously. He said, quote, so to have him part of the legal team would be troublesome, to say the least. At best, it's a messy situation, and more likely, it's just completely dysfunctional. No. That notice how he said, at best, it's super messy and dysfunctional. I love it. Then again, of course, messed up, super dysfunctional. That seems to be all things Trump related. So, anyway, so now Giuliani is being looked over. A lot about the situation in Ukraine. Now, investigators related to the impeachment inquiry have been collecting testimony for several weeks from witnesses who put the president's lawyer at the center of a campaign to leverage U.S. military and diplomatic might in exchange for foreign assistance from Ukraine that could help Donald Trump win the second term. So it turns out there is quid pro quo, as we've learned from the testimony of Bill Taylor, as well as Gordon Sondland, who, of course, denied quid pro quo, but was told to say that in the text by the White House itself. So by Donald Trump. So quid pro quo and pressuring a foreign leader. Now, you don't have to have quid pro quo to do impeachment, by the way. But now Giuliani is also swept up in this impeachment for his role in pressuring Zelensky, setting things up, working with other folks that are surrounding this story. We're going to get to those guys too. So now, lawmakers hyper-focused on Giuliani prompted a decision by Trump's legal team to sideline its most famous member from handling any Ukraine matters as part of the president's defense, should Democrats advance a specific article of impeachment addressing the subject, according to a person familiar with the lawyer's strategy. So now he is being sidelined on Ukraine, and there is talk of him, of course, looking for his own lawyer, and that's speculation, among other speculation, that he could face charges on bribery, foreign lobbying registration, you have to register as foreign lobbyist, and disclosures to making false statements to government officials. So he could be in real trouble, is basically what they're saying, right? So now there's also the question of a $500,000 payment Giuliani has publicly acknowledged for receiving work that he did on behalf of a company called, and I love this, Fraud Guarantee. Guarantee fraud. Well, there you go. Perfect place for Giuliani. Now, that specific company was ran by two associates of his, and I tend to call them more henchmen than anything, because they ended up working with Giuliani to try to dig up dirt on Joe Biden. Now, these particular people were named Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman. I'm probably saying the name wrong, but I don't care. It's Igor. Now, those two happened to be arrested earlier this month trying to leave the country. They had a one-way ticket, and they were trying to leave when they were arrested at the airport. Sad. Now, they were charged with orchestrating a scheme to buy political influence on behalf of a Ukrainian government official and a Russian businessman. Now, during an arraignment on Wednesday in New York, one of the topics of discussion among the lawyers and the presiding judge centered around the defendant's work for Rudy Giuliani and possible assertions of attorney-client and executive privilege. So, look, that's important because that goes to the top. Only executives get executive privilege. Only people in the executive branch, I should say. Not good. Now, Rebecca Donaleski, an assistant U.S. Attorney General from the Southern District of New York, who's prosecuting the Parnas-Fruman case, said at the court hearing that Giuliani's communications might have been intercepted by the FBI during the probe. So they might have Giuliani's communications. That includes texts, emails, phone numbers. And if there's anything bad on there, the Southern District of New York has it. And guess who the Southern District of New York is working with? The Department of Justice. Now, then again, look, the Department of Justice and the Southern District of New York, they are separate, right? And got to remember, the DOJ is run by William Barr. Nonetheless, you have the criminal division working with the Southern District of New York. Now, if Barr shuts it down, which would be a huge violation, for one, and it would seem extremely political, which it would be, you still would have the Southern District of New York having that information available to it. So they could continue on with any sort of case. So either way, Giuliani, big trouble, right? So now, then again, we don't know if Giuliani, again, there's a maybe that he had his texts picked up, or his, because investigators obtained information relating to at least a dozen telephone numbers as well as email and social media accounts. Again, those might have been picked up, but we don't know. And if they were, we don't know if there was anything on that was actually potentially criminal. So there's that. But we do know that Parnas, Giuliani, and Fruman spent a lot of time with each other over the last year. In fact, there's one picture from late March taken at the Trump International Hotel, which included a caption Parnas wrote saying that he was at a celebration dinner with Rudy Giuliani and other members of Donald Trump's legal team, including Jay Sekulow, Martin Raskin, and Jane Raskin. So Sekulow is, of course, one of Donald Trump's oldest lawyers. So now that was posted a day after William Barr had released his 4-page memo summarizing the Mueller investigation. That memo, of course, was completely partisan and incredibly off base. But nonetheless, that Mueller memo that he released said that the special counsel would go on to criticize his failing to fully capture the context, nature, and substance of his work. So Mueller criticized that as well, and you guys remember during that hearing. So now, here comes we're going to distance ourselves, right? So now Trump's attorney, Sekulow, said he did not speak with Parnas at the event. Quote, he could have been at the dinner. I have no idea. There were a lot of people at the event. This is your classic Trump denial. Oh, I hardly knew the guy. I don't know if I talked to him. I don't know. I mean, look, Jeff Sessions used that. Trump has used that plenty of times. So many people that are around Donald Trump have used the similar, that sort of similar language. Like, I never knew him. It's coffee boy. It's some guy. And then you end up seeing a picture of them like right next to each other. That'll probably come out soon. You never know, right? But there was a picture of them all together already. That is already out. So it's funny that, again, they're going to continue to use that BS defense. And of course, I'm pretty sure they're going to try to use that on Giuliani as well. So now, as bad as this is, right now Giuliani is not facing actually any charges. But this is a significant increase in resources directed towards looking into Giuliani. Again, the DOJ working with the Southern District of New York. And they're looking at his ties, Giuliani's ties with Parnas, Fruman, what he did in Ukraine, who he worked for, who he worked with, his extensive travel, and of course, all of this is centered around the effort to try to pressure the Ukrainian government into doing political favors for Donald Trump in exchange for military aid. So for me, I believe that Giuliani kind of in a world of trouble. But as always, we do have to wait for more facts to come out. But so far, from what I see, not good for him. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.